Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is an activist par excellence. He's the former executive director of Greenpeace International and the founder of the German organisation Food Watch, which, as its name suggests, of course, promotes healthy food. And that man is Thilo Bode. Thilo Bode, thank you very, very much for joining us today. I know you're very, very busy with one of your campaigns at this point in time. Thilo Bode, did you have a very good, healthy breakfast this morning?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, but it's very important to say we are a consumer rights organization. We are fighting for not only healthy, but transparent, sufficient and not too much food. But we are rather not advisors what would be a healthy diet.
That's interesting because you actually say, your organisation, which you're mentioning there, Food Watch, it says on its internet site right at the very beginning, what we eat is something we no longer decide ourselves. And then you say to me, you don't know whether your breakfast is healthy. This is very worrying for me.
Well, it describes the present situation very well. We are also victims of the fact that we have an intransparent supply of food, that we don't know what is really in, what impact the many additives have. So we have a problem of transparency and we would like to overcome this.
And just before we begin with a portrait of you, just give me a yes or no answer. So the bottom line is that you do not know whether the food you're eating is healthy or unhealthy?
Not really.
Oh dear, oh dear. Thilo Bode, at the beginning of that report, it's very comforting for somebody like me because I see you down at the supermarket picking up the same kind of goods that I buy and I think, oh, everything's OK. But then you don't take them home, you take them down to Food Watch. What happens next?
Oh, of course, we are analysing the description and the information which the products have on their packaging, and then we examine whether the information is correct and reflects the facts or whether the information is misleading. This is one of our main campaigns, to campaign against misleading information, because in most of the cases you don't get real quick information about the nutrient content, about the impact of the additives and the place of origin. All this information is mostly not available or only after long and lengthy research.
Mm-hmm. So you're a campaigning organisation, and one campaign that you're involved in at the moment, I've got a printout here from one of Germany's leading investigative magazines, which the title of the item is Too Red to Be Good, and it's all about red meat here in Germany. You've been pushing this story. What you're attacking is a process called modified atmosphere packaging for meat, which you say the only aim of which is to make the meat look attractive so that it can be sold more easily. But the meat actually goes off, and it isn't better quality meat. It just looks that way.
Yeah.
Is this a typical sort of story here? And where's it going to go?
I think that's a very typical story of our campaigns, where the consumer is not correctly informed because the meat appears to be red and fresh under the packaging, but it isn't really. And if you depack it, it's grey, and it can be also, not of good quality anymore. And that's a typical way of misleading consumers. It can even imply some health risks. So that's what we disclose and show to the public and try to initiate a debate. And we demand a different kind of packaging and a better way of handling the food.
What's your guess about how the industry lobby and about how the authorities are going to react to these claims? What's going to happen next?
That's a very typical mechanism, that the first reaction of the government is there is no problem and nobody is dying of it. That's what. But there are some other forms of being not healthy, and industry and corporations always say no problem. That means we are entering a debate, and we have to present very well-researched facts in order to promote the debate and finally come to a political result and to a political decision. This is a lengthy way because the government is, in the beginning, I must sadly enough say, more or less supporting the industry's point of view.
And just give me a short answer on this. Is the industry and are the industry lobbyists, are they bad guys? All of them? Can you generalize like that?
I think there's no room for moral categories. Everybody is following its interests, and the politics offer much too much space for economic interests and have much too little space for other interests, for civil rights. That is a way how democracies in our Western Hemisphere develop, which I see with concern.
I feel as helpless as Frau Baumann on our report there, Thilo Bode. How do you choose? You're an expert. At least you've got an expert angle on this story. How do you choose between the locally grown produce, a locally grown apple, for example, and the competition from Argentina?
Regional origin of a product does not necessarily mean that it's better in an ecological sense, because in the label which regulates organic food in the European Union, water consumption cost, transport energy, storage energy is not included in the criteria.
Yeah, but listen, if all this was listed, I can't go down to the supermarket and for every batch of 4 apples I want to buy, read all this information and compute and calculate it and compare it with another product.
That's why I'm sitting here. That's why we have Food Watch, because it's really not transparent. And we are not partisan of organic food. We are trying to take an independent point of view and criticizing the loopholes in the information regarding the organic food as well. And there's indeed a lot of deficiencies in describing what is organic and what not. Organic food sometimes has a climate impact which is worse than conventional food, and not everything can be solved by labeling. We cannot replace a reasonable climate policy by product labeling. There are limits of product labeling.
Well, I was going to ask you, the EU has only just introduced, what's it called, the Euroleaf scheme, and from what I'm hearing...
What kind of scheme?
The Euroleaf scheme for organic products. They're actually putting labeling on products saying, this is organic. Yeah, but from what I'm hearing from you, this isn't good enough. What we really need is a massive bureaucracy to work through all these products and tell us which ones to buy.
The label for organic food is not a bad thing, because it's the only state-guaranteed label in the food sector. But it has loopholes. It is not perfect. It has to be improved, because I think being a consumer who wants to buy ecological food wants to have the guarantee that the bio food provides this ecological production, but that is not the case.
Okie dokie. This is one of your Food Watch battle is one of the battles you've been fighting in recent years. You were, of course, we've mentioned it already, Executive Director of Greenpeace. What did you learn there that you've taken with you?
I think I learned that it is worthwhile and very satisfying to organize citizens against political decisions and to make resistance against corporations which, in our opinion, do not what they should do. I think that is a worthwhile activity and which can be very satisfying. Okay, one of the most spectacular protest actions that you were involved with during your period at Greenpeace was the global media campaign against the Brent Spar platform. Yeah? Yes. Let's just have a look at some pictures of what happened. Tell us what happened there, Thilo Bode. Shell was operating the platform together with the company Esso, and they wanted to dump the platform in the North Atlantic. But we said this is not a really good idea. The steel which is built in the platform is comparable to 53,000 cars. It's much better not to dump it in the ocean, but to bring it to land and to orderly dispose it. And this was the whole battle about, which we finally, with some difficulties, have won. But interesting, the political outcome is that we have now an official ban of dumping offshore oil installations in the North Atlantic, which is a political success, I suppose. Yeah. It's an interesting case study, isn't it, though, for how organisations like yours must work. The pictures are very important that you can sort of plant in the media. These are dream pictures with Brent Spar. You don't have this every day. Yeah. This was a unique chance. And, of course, the behavior of Shell was the real reason why the campaign became so popular, because they made one mistake after the other. we also had made mistakes, but maybe not as many as Shell.
Exactly, I was going to say, because it's about pictures and it's about numbers. You mentioned the 53,000 vehicles, but you also, there were numbers out there at the time about how much oil was on board the platform and what have you, and you got it wrong a little bit, but it's pictures and numbers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me, for Food Watch, what kind of pictures would you need, ideally, to galvanise public opinion?
I think chaining ourselves to the supermarket wouldn't really provide the basic pictures we need. This is much more difficult because we are fighting for rights, for things which are difficult to visualize, and makes it much more difficult. Meat, of course, is a very emotional thing. People don't want to be misinformed, so we can probably focus on the anger of people, but this is much more complicated. That's also why Food Watch is growing much slower than Greenpeace. But I think we have a case.
We said in the report there, I mean, you seem very mild-mannered today, but I know you can be an angry man in your role as an activist, and we mentioned that in the report. You have said yourself that that the great German public are not angry enough. My feeling is that there are a lot of people who do have great doubts about when they look on their plates and think, is this really healthy, what I'm serving up here? But you're not quite getting through to the vast majority of Germans, are you?
It is difficult to measure, but 2 weeks ago a public opinion poll has been published which showed that more than 50% of the people are assuming that they are not correctly informed, and then they have mistrust in the food which they buy. So this is already, I think, a interesting atmosphere which allows for political action. I think the results of the opinion poll are also to a major part due to our work, because to explain people that they're actually legally misinformed is a big task we have, because the government and the corporations will always say it's all legal what we do, but legal must not be right.
OK. Organisations like Thilo Bode, like Food Watch, they're NGOs. They need donations. Let's talk about donations. In 2009, Germans made donations worth just over €2 billion to good causes. It sounds like a lot of money, and indeed it is. Nevertheless, people here are becoming a little bit more cautious. Let's talk about Food Watch, Thilo Bode. Where does your money come from?
From supporters. We have almost 20,000 supporters, which pay regularly €60 per year. So we are rather not dependent from singular donation than from permanent supporting members.
And somebody like me, I'm a kind, considerate individual, and I'm very concerned about what I eat. But I'm not a member. I'm not making a donation to your organisation. Aside from getting yourself chained to a fence and arrested, what can you do to get through to me?
We try to reach you by the media, by our newsletter, by the public, and to make you interested in our theme, and then, as we say, convert you to a supporter, which I hope happens very soon. Under www.foodwatch.de you can become a supporter of Food Watch. OK, and you've got this money coming in.
There's always the problem of accountability.
Yeah.
You've got 30 seconds to persuade me that your organisation is accountable.
We are publishing our financial results twice by a tax advisor and by a public chartered accountant. So you can examine everything, including the names of our major donors.
I can check it out. The word accountability has become very important because NGOs have become very powerful organisations in the globalised world.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
They're much talked about. I mean, people. Yeah. Is this the industry and government putting the word out that NGOs have got too much power? Because we read reams of newspaper articles saying NGOs have huge influence.
I think that's wrong. What made me convinced that this is wrong is the recent failure in Copenhagen to arrive at a climate accord. I believe that the environmentalists have lost the climate campaign. They have lost the battle. I also believe that we are losing the battle for the biodiversity. I believe that we are a lot in the media, but the business and the politics are made by corporations.
Pessimism.
It's not a pessimism. It's the realistic analysis of the situation which enables us to maybe find another strategy to resist this development, which is very important. We are in the media, but industry and the corporate world becomes really more and more powerful. And I don't think that we have adequate democratic controls of this development because we don't have really effective global institutions. And we as NGOs have been realistic and really analyzed the situation very seriously. I believe that Copenhagen was a turn in the NGO world. Yeah, it has not yet been realized by all organizations, but my conclusion is that we have to rethink our strategies.
Okay, so the Copenhagen Climate Summit was a watershed in a negative sense, says Thilo Bode.
It was absolutely a negative watershed because it would be more than necessary to arrive at the global climate accord, and we haven't reached this. This is a disaster.
That's not the note. We don't want to end the programme on that note. The words "it is a disaster."
I'm not at all pessimistic. I'm motivated.
Okay. Let's change the tone just slightly from the doom and gloom, but you are motivated. We're going to finish with our quick quiz, traditional at the end of the show. Quick questions, quick answers. Local or global?
Local.
Meat or vegetables?
Vegetables.
Slow food or fast food?
In medium.
When you go to the movies, who do you sympathise with most? The good guys or the bad guys?
The bad guys.
Is the food on our plates better today than it was 20 years ago or worse?
It's different.
It's different. We're going to have to leave it on that note, that thoughtful note. He's been a very good, committed, thoughtful guest, Thilo Bode. I've enjoyed his company. If you've enjoyed his company as much as I have, come back next week. Cheers.